everyone, this is Sabrina and
This is Shaha from the Kombe family.
today we are going to show you guys a recipe for fried potatoes that is very common here, not so much in Nairobi, but very common on the coast of Kenya. So we are going to start by giving you a little tour to our market where we get the potatoes. So this is where we get our potatoes from. It's about a 4-minute walk from our house, and Shaha is in there buying the potatoes right now. Okay, we have gotten all of our vegetables. We got potatoes, onions, and tomatoes. So we're gonna make some fried potatoes and maybe also some salsa. So we'll give you the tour of back to our house, and this is how we carry everything. Okay, so we are back in the kitchen now, and I am making salsa, and Shaha is peeling the potatoes for fried potatoes. So we're going to peel them first, and then we're going to use this basin here to rinse them, and then we'll start cutting them. So I am going to show you guys a little bit about how I'm preparing the salsa. So most of you know the salsa is very easy to prepare. So I just diced up all of the tomatoes and put them in the blender because I like salsa like cantina style salsa, so very smooth. So I blend it all up. So now I am cutting the onions, and I'm going to saute those in a skillet with a little bit of oil, some garlic, and a lot of chilies. Okay, so let's get cooking. So Shaha is still peeling the potatoes. I am done with all of the cutting of the stuff for the salsa. And now we are going to fry up this stuff with some oil and then blend it in the blender. So here is the stove that we use, and I'll show you how we turn it on. Okay, so let's put some oil. We have some here. Okay, so now that the oil is kind of hot, we're going to put our ingredients in. Okay, so this is about what we want it to look like. So you can see that the onions are really translucent and everything is well cooked, but not burnt. So I'm going to take this off of the stove and then put it in a blender, and then I'll show you the different herbs that I also put in the salsa. Okay, so now I am going to mix everything up. So first I'm going to just blend the tomatoes by themselves, then I'm going to put everything else in. Okay, so now let's put the other ingredients in. So after the onions, the pepper, and the garlic, we're going to put some herbs. So this is basil. This is chives. This is dill, my favorite seasoning. And I keep my favorite herb. I keep all of these in the freezer so that I can have them for longer. Because we live kind of far from the grocery store where we could get these, so just keep them frozen. And then oregano. Okay, so now we're going to blend all of this. Okay, looking amazing. So now let's try it. Yes, perfect. Okay, so now we are going to put this into the pan so that we can get that to the tomatoes to cook down. Okay, so Shaha is now done peeling the potatoes, and he is cutting them into the little pieces that the sizes that we use to fry them. And yes, he is doing it without a cutting board. That is the Kenyan way.
Very risky.
I was going to say, I can't do it like that, but Shaha's a pro. So let's hope we don't get him cutting himself on camera. So those are about the size that we get. So these are the typical size of potatoes that you would see in America, and you probably get, what would you say, like 8 to 12 slices out of one potato?
Yeah, 8.
Yeah, somewhere around 8 slices per potato. And then you will see what we do with them after this. While Shaha is doing that, the salsa is on the stove. Okay, so while Shaha is finishing with cutting the potatoes into pieces, we are going to make the batter for the potatoes. So we use flour, like regular white flour, with water, and we put a little bit of salt. Let me get some more flour first. Okay, so I don't really measure it. I just look for a specific texture. We kind of want them to be coated pretty thick, so we definitely put more flour than water. And then if we have some left over, we just usually either make kind of like crumbs with it, and Safari and Georgina love that, or we just save it for the next time that we make potatoes. Let me see if it's... See how thick that is? That's a little bit too thick for what we're trying to use it for, so let me put a little bit more water. Okay, that's looking much better.
That most Kenyans use the color, but
Oh yeah. So when you look up fried potatoes, like Kenyan fried potatoes, you will see that they are like an orange color, and that is how we used to make them when we lived on the coast, because this is more of a coastal dish than, or a coastal snack really, than it is in Nairobi. So they don't really sell the color here that you would use to make them that orange color, but we found that it doesn't really matter. They just are using like a powder form of like food coloring, and so it doesn't add any flavor, anything besides color to the potatoes, so we don't use it anymore because it's just a waste of money. We presume that they're using that color to be more enticing for people to buy the potatoes, because they sell these on the street, they sell them in restaurants on the coast, so I think that they might look more appealing as an orange color than as just a white color from the white of the flour. Let me put a little bit of Himalayan salt.
my waist.
A little bit more salt, and garlic powder. So usually garlic powder and even salt aren't really added to the batter, but I think it gives it a little extra flavor. Okay, so you can see the texture of this. It's pretty thick for a batter, but you can still easily put the potatoes in there and grab them out. So perfect texture for that. So stay tuned for our next step. Okay, so the next step of the potatoes, as you can see, all the potatoes are in here, and Shaha is putting them into water in a pot on the stove. So this is just what we do to soften the potatoes, so that after they're soft, we put the batter on them and then we fry them in oil like this. So if we were to, which is what I initially thought, like, why don't you just like put the batter on them now and then fry them like this, and maybe fry them a little longer and they'll be fine, but definitely not the case. So don't skip this step. Make sure that you boil them, then put the batter, and then fry them, and they are delicious. The outside will be super crispy, the inside will be super soft, like almost like mashed potatoes, and it's just unbeatable. So Shaha's sister taught me how to do this, and now me and Shaha both make them when we have time. And that's why we make such a large batch. So after this step, we will be putting the batter on them and frying them in different batches. So this amount of potatoes, we'll probably do 3 to 4 batches. So we'll come back and show you that when we're done softening them. Okay, we are back after a long pause. I don't know if you can see here, our stove had a wardrobe change because we ran out of gas. So we had to go get more gas, and the gas place that we go to, they were out of the small gas things. So then we had to take a motorbike to a different place, and it was just a journey. So now we're back, and our oil is hot, and our potatoes are done cooking, as you can see here. So they are soft all the way to the inside, but barely soft, because we don't want them to be mush, because we're not making mashed potatoes here, we're making fried potatoes. So then we have our batter that we made earlier, and that's what we're gonna put our potatoes in. So I usually put it right here in between my legs here, and then I drop a lot of the potatoes in. Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Thank you. So as I said before, we're going to do probably 3 or 4 batches. So I tried to put the whole batch into the batter at once so that I can put them into the oil quickly so they'll cook at the same time. Okay, so I try to get as close as I can to the stove so I don't drip any. Okay, let me put this down so you can see. Okay. So then we just take them out of the batter and put them in. Okay, so that is our first batch, and then we'll show you the progress when they get to the right color so that we know that they're done. So at this point you can see that they are getting a color to them, but this is where we have to make sure that they don't stick together, which can be difficult sometimes. So I just have to kind of like play with them. And you don't want to do this right away because then you'll kind of like take off the coating. You want to do this like when they're halfway cooked so that the batter doesn't come off, but you're able to make sure they're not all stuck together. And if you can see this crispy stuff at the top, we usually just take that off when it gets a little bit of a darker color, and everybody loves to just eat it by itself. It's just flour and water cooked in oil, so yeah, that's just a little side treat. So these ones are, for the most part, not stick together. I think those ones are just going to be friends forever. Okay, so we will be back when they are the proper color so we can take them out. So when we do take them out, we put them in this container right here and we line it with like a material bag. I know most of the time in America you would line it with like paper towels, but you know, we don't buy paper towels here, so we improvise. So this is how we make sure that they're not like soaked in oil. The oil will kind of just like soak into the material bag. So we will be back in a few moments and you will see the finished product of our first batch here. Okay, so the potatoes are about done. So what I'm going to do first is take off all of these like little extra crispies on the top and then put those in a separate bowl. And make sure I shake them out really well because we don't have anything to like put under them in this bowl. So I just shake around the potatoes to make sure all of the crispies get out. And then by the time we get done with all the batches, like there will be a lot, and then we just like share it. Okay, so we put that to the side, and then we get the container that we're going to put the potatoes in. So this is about the color that they should be. This, or a little bit darker, but that is around the color that you should want your potatoes. So I shake them out as much as I can to make sure that there's no oil, and then drop them in here. Then we'll put a little bit of salt on top and they'll be done. And the salsa is in the freezer right now cooling off, so we can dip them in the salsa. Salsa, of course, is not necessarily a Kenyan thing. I'm making it more along the lines of a Mexican recipe, but hey, we have fusion food in this house, all different kinds of cultures and backgrounds of food. Okay, so as you can see, that is our first batch, and we will come back to you when all the batches are done so you can see how it looks with all of them complete. Okay, so now we are finally done making the potatoes after the whole gas detour and all of that. We got the potatoes cooked and everybody is now eating them. So, Georgina, how do they taste?
It tastes so good.
Sabai, how about you?
Bomb.com.
She took Shaha's phrase. Shaha, how are they?
Just awesome.
So we are dipping them in the salsa that I made, and it's perfectly chilled from being in the freezer for a couple hours, and everything is delicious. This is definitely not all we have, so everybody's probably gonna have seconds. So thank you for watching our video about how we make salsa and Kenyan fried potatoes and do a little blend of the cultures. And this is what our dinner looks like. So please tell us if you are going to try these at home or if they sound good to you. We would love to hear that in the comments. So please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Bye.
Bye.